theories on the construction and the purpose of the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx range from tomb to ancient power station. This week, the Jackalopes explore mysteries of the Great Pyramid and the Sphinx. I'm Floyd Whiting.
I'm Aaron Linden.
I'm Steve Sisson.
I'm Emmy Whiting.
And we are your Jackalopes. So this subject could actually range into about 30 different shows. So what we're going to do is we're just going to try and hit kind of the highlights. And we'll probably do other shows on other theories having to do with these two amazing pieces of human history. We think human history.
Stop it, Steve.
In the future. So
carry on.
The Great Pyramid of Giza is estimated to be around 4,600 years old. And this estimate is actually based on two things. Number one, radiocarbon dating, which I put a lot of credence into. Organic material found in the pyramid and its mortar can actually be dated using radiocarbon dating, which measures the decay of a radioactive carbon isotope, C14. The other one is the attribution?
Something like that.
Something.
We know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't, but that's okay. I've been disassociating.
It's actually, I believe his name is Khufu. Archaeological and textual evidence attributes the pyramid to the pharaoh Khufu, and his chronological age can actually be used to estimate how old the pyramid is. And I mean, this is really old. I think the oldest civilization that we know of, popular science says is the Sumerians, which I believe was around 6,000 years old. Am I right on that? Mm-hmm. Somewhere around there. And they had an amazing advancement in technology and culture. The Sumerians were the first civilization that we know of. Now, the most common wisdom holds that this monolith, or the Sphinx itself, is around 4,500 years old and was built for Khafi, a pharaoh of Egypt's fourth dynasty, who lived from 2603 to 2578 BCE. Now, there's been other theories that have come forward. I mean, they are abundant and much more than what we can cover, even probably this entire year, because these are one of the oldest ancient mysteries in existence, and nobody can really say for sure where they come from. So let's look at popular science. Let's look at the popular archaeological theories on this. Steve, what are those?
Well, I think built as tombs is the generally accepted.
Even though there's never been a body discovered in them. Interesting.
From what I found, there has been. So.
Well, it depends on how you define a body. Is it a complete body or is it body parts? And I would say that when you look at the 100 or so surviving pyramids, there's enough evidence among all of those to say, yeah, I mean, they were tombs, because there's bits of mummified bodies. There's canoptic jars. There's sarcophagus, that kind of stuff. But complete
sarcophaguses,
sarcophaguses.
Yeah. Geeses?
Yeah. And the funerary stuff all around it, you know, they're in graveyard areas. There's temples commemorating the dead around them. And then right on top of some of the pyramids, were caps that said, "This is the tomb of so-and-so." So a lot of evidence pointing to them being tombs. But there's always that question mark, especially with the Great Pyramid.
Yeah.
And how they were built, there's disagreement about that. I think the general consensus is some sort of ramp system was used. Exactly what kind of ramp it was and how they got to go around the corners and stuff like that would be unknown. There's a lot of theories about it.
A lot of people have argued like just the weight of the limestone itself would just be too much. But Emmy and I actually watched a video the other day and it's a man who has figured out ancient ways to move heavy rocks by himself. And he had like cubes and blocks that he was moving that, oh man, they had to be one that he pushed in a complete circle by himself.
Was it the Coral Castle guy?
I'm not totally sure.
Might be the White Castle.
These are
I'm
new
hungry.
videos. Okay, these aren't like, because there was a man in Florida,
Yeah, the Coral
who
Castle.
actually discovered
yeah.
like ancient technologies and how you could balance stone so perfectly that he's got this massive stone door that you can just push and it opens. And people actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but they can still visit his site to this day, because he essentially built like a massive site showing you all these different fun, cool things that he was able to do, but he never shared how he got it done.
That's a whole nother show, because he would build it at night so nobody could even see. Like, even if they were like outside looking in, it was so dark that nobody could see what he was actually doing.
Yeah. The only thing that people really attest to was the crane system that he had contained a black box on the top of it. Nobody knew what this black, right? And nobody knew what was inside of this black box, but they're like, whatever's in that box, that's what did it.
It's like the Flintstones. It's, instead of like a little bird, it's aliens inside.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Exactly. But I mean, what I'm saying is like, there are ancient techniques and ways that we could move massive pieces of stone.
Yeah, one of the more recent ones that they've postulated is just wetting the sand in front of the stone, and I think there's actually a hieroglyph that shows that. They thought it was like a ceremonial thing, but they thought no, actually they might be putting enough water on it to kind of liquefy it a little bit, and then it allows you to slide the stones across just the wet sand.
And I mean, if they were, if this is what you had to work with all the time, then they'd be masters of using that environment and the construction.
Absolutely.
I mean, if that's how we did things, and we all know that Egypt built some amazing things. I mean, the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx are kind of their, crown jewel.
Right.
But if you look at the multiple temples, the multiple monoliths, the multiple statues, I mean, they were amazing engineers.
Yeah.
And that just cannot be argued against.
Yeah, and just the sheer scale of it. I've been to the pyramids, and standing next to the Great Pyramid, those blocks are the size of a small car. It's really impressive how large the structures actually are. And when you look at that, it's mind-boggling how just with human power you could move those things and build something like that.
Well, and didn't they quarry the stones like 100 miles away?
Yeah,
some of the interior stone, yeah. The exterior was nearby, I think, but the interiors were, I think, taken down the Nile. It was like 800 kilometers away or something like that. That's a long distance.
See, this, and I think a lot of people would sit there and say, well, who did this? It was built by slaves. Well, that's been proven to be a bad theory.
Yeah.
Because they actually paid their workers.
Yeah, and they found the tombs of the workers in the 90s, I think, nearby. And they were obviously well taken care of.
Yeah.
And buried there like as a kind of an honor thing to be buried next to them.
Absolutely. And if you look at the idea that, I'm building this for a pharaoh king, pharaohs were gods in physical form. So you're building this for one of your gods. The power of belief can make individuals do literally anything and dedicate their entire lives to just one thing, right? Even though I might not be remembered as a construction worker, I get to be a part of this. I get to help construct this massive building for my God. People will do it.
Oh, yeah.
They do it to this day. So I think, one reason why I'm bringing all this up is because I do want to lend credence to the accomplishments of mankind before we start getting off on other theories. That, I mean, it's an amazing feat. A great ancient wonder.
Yeah. I don't think I have much more to add. I mean, a lot of that stuff is we don't know. A lot of it is like, it could be this, it could be that, and there's a lot of disagreement over almost everything.
Yeah, a lot of theories, not a lot of...
Yeah, I mean, they found like little pieces
proof,
of ramps, and there's a notch on the side of the Great Pyramid that they think could be used to manipulate the stones to turn them around corners. There's an interior ramp theory, but it's all just like, the actual hard, direct evidence is very minimal for any of that stuff.
Which again leads credence to the development of conspiracy theories or alternate theories because exactly. But a lot of it is because
Aaron's
we can't.
one joy in life.
Yeah, right.
We can't prove these things. We have theories on how they built it. So Emmy, I kind of tasked you with trying to debunk popular science and popular thought. What did you find?
There was a lot of, there is a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding what the pyramids are and like where they came from. So like aliens are a favorite theory. And then also, a lot of people were like, well, maybe it were they just built a home for the gods, not so much for burial or tombs, but
Almost like a church.
yes, yeah. But this is the one that I kind of went off of because it's kind of recent. So in 1998, a Republican presidential hopeful, Ben Carson, claimed the pyramids were used to store grain versus being tombs.
I never heard that one before.
I haven't either. It's a silo?
That's a new one.
Yeah.
That is a complex silo.
Leave it to Ben Carson to come up with that, though.
So he is part of a conservative evangelical Christian church, and his claim was, quote unquote, my own personal theory is that Joseph built the pyramids to store grain.
Oh.
So
It wasn't just any silo, it was Joseph's silo.
yes, and
Okay.
he built it to feed everyone
By himself.
Yes.
Yeah, the old story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
The old
About the
yeah.
flood and
Yep.
Yeah.
That's where that came
Interesting.
from. Yeah.
Really?
So yes.
That's
Never heard
You,
that
you
one.
shocked me because I thought I knew everything about like all the whacked out conspiracies. I've never
That
heard
one's
that
a new
one.
one.
That's
So-
awesome.
Off of that, I kind of went into this article from ScienceAlert.com that based this, like the misconceptions of the pyramids off of this grain theory. So I have a little listicle of what those misconceptions are and how to debunk them. So number one, the pyramids aren't hollow. They are solid and only contain a few small chambers connected by sloping pathways and concealed doors.
True.
Which probably wouldn't be the best to store grain.
You're not storing a lot of grain.
No.
Yeah,
Probably.
the
and it'd be
efficiency.
hard to get out of there.
The size of the structure compared to how much grain you're storing is not very advantageous there.
And then number two, ancient Egyptians left instructions inside the pyramids of how pharaohs' souls can pass on.
Okay.
So it's written inside there.
I mean,
Yeah.
it could be a
Yeah.
silo and a passageway to the afterlife.
Yes.
Multi-purpose. We're gonna build this. We should have several.
Yeah, can we get
uses.
more bang for our buck here?
Yeah.
What else can
Great
we use this
Giza
for?
Events Center. That's
And grain silo.
It's like
Hair
the
Care
corn-
and Tire
the
Center.
Corn Palace in Mitchell, South Dakota.
Okay, funny, quick little side note. When Floyd and I were dating long distance, we were like, where is the middle point for us?
Oh God, was it Mitchell?
It was Mitchell.
Nice.
Awesome.
The Corn
Corn
Palace is a
Palace.
middle ground
Palace.
between
Yes.
Wyoming and Minnesota. How
And we-
crazy
Which, if
is
you
that?
haven't been there, you should totally
We
go to the
want to go there for one of our anniversary trips now.
Just for fun. Yep.
Because we
That's
talked
awesome.
about it when we were dating.
Magnificent.
So number three, as we kind of touched on earlier, was the evidence of burial inside. So burial equipment, sarcophaguses.
Yes.
Like sarcophagus.
Yes.
Sarcophagus?
And then mummies or parts of mummies.
Yes.
A lot
But no
of
daddies. Sorry.
It was bound to happen. I'm glad we
Had
got
to
that
throw
out
it
of
in.
the way.
Had to throw it out
that
there.
was
Yeah.
a bad joke. That was
Yeah.
a very bad joke. And a lot of why there weren't a lot more mummies found or mummy parts found was a lot of them were robbed at one
Multiple
point.
times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Multiple times.
And then some chambers were actually below the water table. So, but there has been a lot of evidence of mummies being in there.
There's been a handful that were
parts.
actually found mostly intact.
Yes.
And, yeah, like I said, if you take the 100 or so pyramids that exist and put all that evidence together, it's pretty strong.
Yes.
Right.
And then number four, more than 100 pyramids are known in Egypt, and all that were studied have appeared to have served as tombs. Like whether that be, the instructions or the evidence of burial, blah, blah, blah. I am not a scientist, so I cannot say how they're studied. But number 5, ancient Egyptians actually had granaries.
So they actually had a granary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Were they pyramidal in shape?
No, they were normal dome-shaped buildings and open at the top.
Yeah.
So
I guess that would make more sense.
yes, so his little grain theory doesn't seem to be working out.
Just
but-
like it was the greatest grain silo
It's
ever.
the event center, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one interesting thing, though, and this is the last thing I have, is that there was grain found in pyramids, but
What?
it's thought to be part of a burial ritual known as the Osiris bed. And so when people are like, but there's grain in there. Well, yes, but it was for a specific purpose.
And there was also a Twinkie wrapper too, but that was from somebody later on.
That was,
So the Tor Egypt site actually describes what the Osiris bed is. And it's a wooden tray in the form of the god Osiris. And they were planted with seeds of grain. They were expected to germinate once the tomb was sealed and were symbolic of the continuation of life after death.
I mean, and
A
that's
snack for the afterlife.
Yeah.
Yes, just a little treat.
That's another thing about, this society. Death was almost more important than life.
Right.
Yeah.
This plane that we're on now was so temporary for them that the eternal, what you should really be focusing on, is after this place is done with you. That's what you should be focusing on. And the entire society itself kind of revolved around that. You would die and then ascend or be transported, however they seen it, back to the gods. And the majority of their religions, because they did change. I mean, this was there was many dynasties. And most of the time, each pharaoh would kind of come in and want to paint their own picture of the way things are, or the way things that they believe that they are. So, I mean, there's a lot of variations to it, but the majority of them revolved around the idea that we will continue after we die in another world, and that's where you should be putting your focus. That this plane of existence was entirely just like the blink of an eye compared to where everything else will be. And so I could see a society that focused on the afterlife, putting so much work and effort into the preservation and honoring of their pharaohs, their kings. So I could see that as well. Dedicate, again, like I said about the construction workers, more than willing to dedicate my life to such a fantastic cause, because when we get to the other side, maybe he'll take or raise us with him or her, and we'll be part of that new kingdom on the other side of eternity. So debunking popular thoughts and popular belief, it's once again like I said, the carbon dating is the part that really gets it for me, because carbon dating is pretty damn accurate. And we're getting better and better and better with this as we kind of develop the technology around it. And I put a lot of credence in carbon dating. And so being able to say, hey, it's this old, not that old, I think is something that definitely needs to be addressed. But saying that, we will now go to Aaron.
Ooh, our favorite
Here we
pyramid
go.
man.
And
There we go.
there's a lot of theories that some people would say, oh, well, that's just crazy thought. But there's a lot of theories out there that have some significant evidence.
Significant.
Yeah, you always joke about me being the closest thing to the whatever expert we have, but not in this case.
Not in this case.
But like you said, I mean, this could be like a 58-part series
Yeah.
on
There's a
the
lot to
construction
this.
of it and how tightly they fit and all this stuff. But clearly, they were built by aliens. Duh.
And then the Egyptians just found them and used them as tombs.
No, they were working hand in, three-fingered hand with them.
Okay.
We'll get into why, actually, because it's interesting that it aligns perfectly with the stars of Orion. It's almost perfectly square, sits perfectly along the cardinal points within a few degrees, but at the time in which they were built. And that's another weird thing is flood theories and the wear on the Sphinx and the wear on the pyramids. Some people are saying 12,000 years old. Some people are saying, no, there's carbon dating, but it's hard to carbon date stone, but you can carbon date the stuff found within or outside. Maybe those things showed up later. Who knows? Or
Maybe they were patch
deposited
fixes, you know?
So it's interesting, but a couple things that people don't really realize about the pyramids to start with is they're actually 8-sided, and Grant has graphics of that, because each of the side actually bows in slightly. And dependent upon the season, equinox, blah, 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 you can actually see the shadowing showing that they're actually 8-sided pyramids. And most people are like, what? It's 4 sides. No, it's 8. It's weird.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Grant also has an image of what the pyramids actually looked like at the time that they were finished with the limestone, the polished limestone layer over it with the gold capstone, which at the time could be seen from miles and miles and miles away.
Yeah. When
Because
the
they were
sun
just
hit that.
glowing brilliantly in the sun. Like, they had to have sunglasses. Like, the Egyptians were like kicking around like, that thing's really bright. Like, we got to do something here.
Sending that guy up to polish it once a year.
Yeah,
seriously.
Yeah.
Cussing as he
Well, and it's funny because
climb that thing.
they don't look, you see them now and you're kind of like, oh, they're tattered and ragged. This limestone, I mean, the pyramid construction itself was amazing.
Yeah.
The limestone that covered it was even more amazing because it was like you couldn't even fit a piece of paper in between this stuff, and it was highly polished. Like, there was no climbing up it like there is now.
Right.
Like, I mean, that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, the only one, like the bent pyramid, is the only one that has any surviving of the finish on it. But you can kind of get an idea from that one how smooth they would have been.
But, they stole bodies. They stole the limestone. They stole the gold capstone.
It's amazing to sit here and think that, like, this society that revolved around the worship of these individuals would allow this theft. I mean, because it's not like one of the tombs that are kind of off to the side in the Valley of Death or the Valley of the Kings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those I could see a couple guys get together. They're like, there's gold down there, Bucky. Let's go get it, and they go in there and get out, and nobody is the wiser. This thing is right by a major city.
Well, and that's one of the other things that I've given Grant some graphics of. From Pizza Hut to KFC to a Google Earth image overview, these people have this romantic theory that, like, I'm going to get on a camel, I'm going to ride for 6 hours to get to the pyramids. Nope. You can eat your wings and see the pyramids. I mean, they're literally right
there.
And that image, I don't remember what it said on the bottom of it. Might have been 2008, 2018. So I'm sure it's been encroached even more to the point that there's probably a Hyatt, right next door to it.
Grab a coffee.
Yeah.
Stroll
Sit out
on
on your
over to the
balcony,
pyramids.
at the pyramids.
I was there in 1998, and it was across the street from the Pizza Hut then.
Right.
Wow.
So I'm sure that it's, it can't have gotten any further away.
Right. So when people take photos, they're very creative angles
Yeah.
to make it look like it's in the middle
out
of
in the middle of
nowhere.
nowhere, yeah.
But it's not. So in 1998, there was a British author, Christopher Dunn, that suggested, and so again, we could do 58 different episodes on this. I picked one of my favorite things because otherwise I would be not focused.
We'd be here for hours.
Yeah, we would be here. We'd have to take like a break.
Yes.
Put an intermission, like,
An intermission.
let's all go to
The snack bar.
the snack bar. So he suggested that the pyramids were actually created to be used as a machine to create a chemical reaction to produce hydrogen gas used in an electrical generator. He also speculated that the hydrogen gas would be energized and converted into microwaves once it reached the king's chamber, at which point the energy would be transmitted via the golden capstone to the surrounding obelisks that would act as transmitters. The whole process is called reverse electrolysis, using oxyhydrogen as a cell, an anode and a cathode, and an electrolyte. You can split the hydrogen and oxygen from water, resulting in oxy oxyhydrogen. So the weird thing is, the other thing a lot of people don't know is there is a huge aquifer under these, which, again, I sent Grant another graphic showing what's under the pyramids.
Yeah.
And they actually do a cutaway, and it looks like these huge obelisks.
Yes, I've seen that.
which
Yeah.
I just get a kick out of because it's like, maybe they tap down into this aquifer, and that's where they're garnering some of this energy from. But so all the little chambers and channels in the Queen's chamber could actually separate the hydrogen from oxygen via compression, dependent upon how much you were pumping in there. The Grand Gallery is sound engineered to 8.1 hertz of frequency, which is actually the Earth's natural frequency.
Is that one above the Queen's chamber or below?
The gallery,
Yeah.
I believe, is above.
Okay.
You'll have to fact check me on that, though. So this phenomenon was specifically engineered by location due to the pyramid being located at the center of the Earth's landmass. Also, the coordinates of the pyramid are 29.9792458 degrees north, which happens to be exactly the same number of the speed of light in a vacuum, which is 299,792,458 meters per second.
Down to that many decimals.
Correct. Also, once the hydrogen hit the King's chamber, the solid granite that contains a high percentage of quartz and is slightly radioactive would ionize the air, which then causes stress oscillation in the quartz in tune with the aforementioned engineered frequencies, transmitting the energy into a specific wavelength like a quartz radio that can be transmitted and possibly received outside of the pyramid. The polished limestone that we talked about is also a fantastic insulator, and as we all know, there is no better transmitter than gold, which the capstone was made out of. So, check this out. The pyramid could use the Earth's natural frequencies and could potentially release the energy directly into the ley lines of the Earth so that any structure on Earth could receive this ether energy anywhere along the ley lines. The Tartarian Empire likely knew of this technology as well, as that's what a lot of Nikola Tesla's infrastructure was based on. Going deeper, if you fit the radius of the Earth perfectly inside the profile of the Great Pyramid, you end up with the golden ratio. If you fit the profile of the pyramid into the Earth's profile, it perfectly goes from the North Pole to the equator at a scale of 1 to 43,200. There are 43,200 seconds of daylight on a hemisphere at the equinox. So in a 2 second, so 1 divided by 43,200 of the day and night cycle, a spot on the equator would travel distance equal to the perimeter of the Great Pyramid. The highest point of the Great Pyramid multiplied by 43,200 equals the polar radius of the Earth within 300 feet of accuracy. So the pyramid height is 428.75 feet times 43,200 gives you 3,949.83 miles. According to the World Grid survey done in 1972, the Earth is 3,949.89 miles. So here's the thing. Lines up perfectly with Orion, sits perfectly on the cardinal points, matches the golden ratio, sits on the ley lines, fits perfectly into the Earth fits perfectly into it within 300 feet of the actual. There's so much knowledge that goes into what they built that either they had a crazy understanding of the world in 4000 BC, or they were clearly helped by freaking aliens. Because here's the thing.
Listen,
if it's a power station.
with all that math, they must have been.
Honest to God. But so if it's a power station,
I
is it
used to
used
cry during math
to regenerate the power supply of UFOs? And if you look at ley lines, that's a whole nother Jackalopes Explore. But if you look at ley lines and how many pyramids on how many different continents there are on the ley lines, if they really could transmit this energy through the ley lines, they had power stations all across the planet before we had power stations all across the planet.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much more of this that I haven't gotten into that points at incredible technology. I mean, incredible technology that there's no way they had an understanding of this at that point in time without help. I mean, everything that I read, everything that I look at, I'm like, okay, I can get how they would, oh, look, it's Orion. Let's do that. But with everything else and the golden ratio and they had a knowledge that I don't think they could have had without some outside intervention.
Yeah, well, especially with the line of latitude that it sits at, coinciding with the speed of light.
Right.
I mean, they didn't have meters.
Correct.
They used cubits. So that's a knowledge outside of their realm already.
Right. And there's one thing, oh, that's interesting. Two things, it might be a coincidence. That? I mean, the speed of light, we didn't even know what the speed of light was until,
right.
Not that long ago.
Yeah.
And for all of those things to match up perfectly, that's not coincidence. That's done perfectly outside of ancient knowledge. I mean, you go back Tepe, that kind of stuff, cool. Stonehenge, great. The Great Pyramids weren't just like, well, we need to be able to, it's a giant sundial that stores grain. No. I mean, this thing.
It powers our electric pencil sharpeners.
Seriously. This thing. And then you get into some of the other interesting artifacts that they found where they actually have these urns that were batteries.
Yeah. I remember
what
seeing
the hell
those.
were those used for? Where were they getting energy from? The pyramid. There's just so much that adds up to this being something that, you get told by, the experts, the antiquities people, oh, it was a burial chamber or whatever. And so everybody goes, yeah, it's a burial chamber. Everybody goes, oh, yeah, it's way out in the middle of the desert. No, it's not. And no, it's not. It's a freaking power station.
And it makes me think, because I think of this often, I'm like, how is their technology so far advanced versus ours? When we talk about they came here during 4000 BC, did you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. They came here and they knew all this stuff, aliens. They knew all this stuff. Then it makes me think of interdimensional beings, or it makes me think of time traveling, because they have to be so far advanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and, even during the congressional hearings, based on the testimony of Grush, they're not all, maybe even none of them, are from another world. They're interdimensional beings.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say that these interdimensional beings were able to show up, or let's even go like the Anunnaki. One thing that really always kind of crosses my mind, I think a lot of these things are much older than what we ever give them, a date for. I rely on carbon dating, but again, it's not always perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing about science, though. As we go forward, we're allowed in the scientific world to take a step back and go, okay, we were wrong. Now we've got new information. Whereas, with some of these theories, if we look at the possibility, if we just play with it, and so let's play with it. This is a massive power station, okay? They build the first one, the Great Pyramid. And maybe it's interdimensional beings who were like, I don't want to get stranded here. So let's hook up and start actually making
Creating
powers
an energy source,
so I can get my butt home just in case I ever have to. People come along, or they engineer people, depending. Mankind arrives. And then as man moves in, they build the cities around it. They build the civilization around it. Maybe there's a partnership. Maybe there's not. Let's play with the idea that there is a partnership. Those batteries were like, hey, so we've discovered, we can do these things, but we can share that knowledge with you guys.
Right.
Pole shifts. It takes an oasis type environment, turns it to sand,
And there's evidence for that.
wipes out the majority of mankind. Those who did survive come out of the cave, start walking around, start looking at what's left, and they're like, God's built this.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We didn't build it. God's built this. And so maybe that individual, it starts real simple. We elect a leader, or someone is brave or great, or he happened to kill the tiger that the rest of us didn't see. So he becomes the leader of the tribe. Eventually that tribe grows. He becomes the king. Eventually the king has, selfish children who are like, no, I'm a god.
Right.
Okay, so now everyone starts worshiping him as a god. And we built these things. My people from the heavens built these things. Okay, so now you're Pharaoh. And so now we build smaller ones because we have the big one. Obviously, this is where gods live. So now we got to build the smaller ones and put our gods in there.
That is a very interesting thought, like that there might have been one big one that started it all off.
Right.
That was already there, and they were like, let's make our own.
Well, then
And this is where you put gods.
and
Yeah.
you can spin that into, did the Nephilim have a hand in it? Are the Nephilim the Anunnaki? Are all these different things. But again, all of it points to it wasn't a burial chamber.
No,
I mean,
I don't think it was.
The passageways within it are so small that good luck.
Well, and it didn't. There's I don't know. We'll call it a conspiracy theory because I can't confirm it. The hidden passage that they don't let anyone go down.
Right.
Yeah.
So number one, that could just be like, well, you walk down there and there's a huge ass hole and you fall. And
right, that's a
people
danger.
get hurt.
Yes,
So we
it's a
sealed this
hazard.
off
Yeah.
because it doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything, but it's killed 2 or 3 workers, and we don't want anyone else who comes through the pyramid all the time as a tourist. We don't want anyone else to go down there. That could be the explanation right there.
Right.
Okay, done. Or
I like the or.
there's evidence of everything that's down there. I've heard everything from there's a UFO underneath the pyramid that they left behind. And they found it. They sealed off. They can't get it out.
Right.
And we don't know how it, got in there, but they can't get it out. So they sealed it off. Because conventional thought, and this is something that in every alien conspiracy, there's the idea that it's all being covered up, right? A lot of these individuals, these, and I'm talking like big shit ufologists, okay? They all have a story about being pulled aside by somebody from the government. And I'm not talking about the men in black. I'm talking about somebody that they know who looks at them and says, you got to cut this shit out.
Yeah.
You got to stop because you're going to upset the world when they actually realize what the hell is going on.
Right.
Religions will fall. And people need that. I'm not saying everybody does, but people need that.
Sure. Absolutely.
There are people who base their entire moral behavior around this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
True or false?
true.
Now take it away. Now take away the one belief you have. Now take away the one thought that when I die, when grandma died, when the damn dog died, it all went to heaven. And it all makes us feel good. Now take away that one thing that makes you feel good.
Yeah, people are going to lose their mind.
Where we have no idea what the hell goes on.
Yep.
And there is no morality.
Well, and some people would just completely lose meaning to their life too if they have nothing
Well, I just
that
think
they're working towards in a way.
It would
Yeah.
collapse. It would collapse.
the craziest part about all of this is, like, what do we know about Mars? What they tell us.
The little rover.
Right.
The little Mars.
Oh, there's no
rover.
atmosphere, but we're flying helicopters. Well, we just make the rotors go twice the speed, and well, then there's some atmosphere. Like there's dust devils. Whatever. We will tell you what this is, and you'll believe it.
Mm-hmm.
What is the pyramid? Well, we tell you that it's a burial chamber, but you can't go down here, and you can't see this, and you can't really come in here. Then what do we really know about it? Nothing. I mean, how many people have been let in to go, I want to test for this. You know, I want to pump this thing full of water and see what happens. And no, it's never going to
Yeah,
happen because
they'll never allow that.
it's within the antiquities department, and we don't do that.
The phrase that pops in my mind is, Cohagen knows it makes air.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
But it would be interesting. I mean, obviously you can't build it to scale, but building some sort of, and I didn't look at and see if anybody's done that, a replica of it,
Yeah.
to see what it actually
Yeah, like a
does.
That'd be
scale-
interesting.
scale
That'd be
model, yeah.
really
Scale
interesting.
model.
Very
If you've got the
interesting.
ability to do that, I suggest giving it a shot.
Yeah, and then I take 5%. But so it's a theory, but has it ever been tested?
Yeah.
Right.
And if it has been tested, did it work? And if it worked, why are we not hearing
Where's
about
that info? Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That's like the people that have made, hydrogen powered or water powered cars.
Right. Yeah.
All of them have ended up dead. Like, did the guy that built the pyramid go, "Hey man, check this out, it works," and then he drinks his cranberry juice and I've been poisoned.
Then they just grab that manual and just kind of
Right.
destroy that.
Same
Well,
thing
like-
they did with Tesla, baby.
Exactly.
Same thing they
Destroyed
did with
all
Tesla.
of his stuff. And it's like there's so much more to what this thing was built for. It wasn't. I have a really hard time believing this is going to span decades of building for this one dude. Like, no, there were other things involved that went, we're going to do this. We're going to build this. And I don't think it took as long as what they think it took. We're going to build this thing and we're going to give you free, endless energy.
And think about that. Think about what you just said, those 3 words,
Yeah.
right? How many jobs are you putting at risk by saying those 3 words?
I mean,
Look at the industry.
Who are the richest people?
The fossil
planet?
fuel industry would never allow that kind of knowledge to come out.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell everyone knows I honestly believe this anyway. The fossil fuel industry runs the government.
Oh, sure.
We live in a crony democracy.
Well, and I mean, for example, think about the paper industry.
Yeah. Look at what they did.
Yeah, illegalizing marijuana.
Yeah, that's
Because of
the
the
real
hemp.
reason why marijuana was made illegal, because
Right.
hemp was so damn pliable. We could use it for everything, and so the lumber industry of all, we're like, nope, that's got to go.
yeah.
That's so let's focus all
Perfect
this.
example of
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And it's the same idea. The fossil fuel industry will continue to hide these things until there's just none left, until there's just no more to get. And then that industry will somehow try to figure out how to make money off of this free, endless energy. Because I can't have that. When your economy is based on this thing, you can't just pull the rug out from underneath us. Again, you come forward with this knowledge. Everything your society is based on is shit.
Yeah. But we run out of oil, let's say, and then they go, "Hey, look at the pyramid.
Look what we just
It
discovered.
actually does some cool stuff."
Fantastic
We just now figured this
discoveries.
out.
I mean, it's and like the idea of getting Tesla's knowledge, because he literally pulled energy out of the air.
Yes.
Out of the air, man. And it's more than likely
And could
it's
transmit
there.
it.
Yeah. And could use it.
Do you know what our electricity bill is? Too high. It's been too hot.
Too high.
And the AC unit is too old.
But see, it's
So I'd love to know where the free
Build a
endless
pyramid.
energy comes from.
but see, that's my thing. It's not like this. Look, yeah, it's an evil establishment, but it's not like they're sitting back, wringing their hands, going, "Heh heh heh heh." No,
Oh, maybe.
It's just it's the whole idea. What are you going to do? What would you do in the society with absolute free, abundant energy?
Oh, man.
Leave all my lights on.
Look at how many truckers in this world transport fuel. Look at the trains. They're there just to, transport fuel, coal.
Yeah.
How many coal trains pass this place every day? The fossil fuel industry is the cornerstone of our economy.
Absolutely.
Planes run on it. Jets run on it. I mean, otherwise, honestly, I feel that the government would just basically be like, nuclear power plants, man, everywhere.
Everywhere.
A massive funding project that would go through and build a nuclear power plant everywhere.
Or just, there's all pyramids everywhere.
Yeah,
They're all
right.
over the place.
You just got to turn
Fire
them
those
on.
suckers up.
Just
That's
turn
my
'em on.
thing. They may have already had that.
Maybe.
And I'm not saying that, like, these discoveries are something that are popular. Some CEO in charge of some big oil industry isn't sitting back going, oh, we got to make sure that pyramid thing doesn't come to the light. No, he's not doing that, but they're not allowing anyone to study that kind of stuff.
Right.
They're looking at him going, you're crazy. You're nuts. Get out of here.
That was a burial
The
chamber.
gaslighting.
You're not.
Gaslighting.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, like if Tesla could figure it out, then surely someone else could figure it out.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the thing. And the people that found the hydrogen-powered and water-powered vehicles and whatever. I mean, there's been multiple people that have figured that out. Maybe not to the scale that Tesla did, but there's been people that figured it out, and every time they end up dead.
There was
Weird.
2 scientists who claimed that they had figured out cold fusion.
Mm-hmm.
That is the energy of the future. Too bad we can't make it work.
right. Well, that's the thing about the water cars. The person died, but the knowledge didn't die with them. And when someone tests it, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah. And so does it work, or was it all just a show? Or it's just odd that it's happened this many times, though, right?
Right.
This many times. Think about like the oil, the cooking oil engine that
Yeah.
people were like, we could do this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen it done.
Biodiesel.
I've seen
Yeah.
biodiesel work. You ever hear about that now?
No.
No, but boy,
Years ago, they
those
came
Tesla
out,
trucks sure are cool looking,
right.
aren't they?
years
Get the
ago,
hell
they
outta
came
here.
out with compressed natural gas for vehicles.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was going to be the next big thing. Like, everybody's going to be running on those. Every gas station that you pulled into would have it. Da-da-da. No. Petered out.
And
Why?
nothing.
Because there's too much big money in other things.
I am the one in control, and why the hell would I ever hand that off?
Right?
It'd be stupid.
See, I'm just thinking, like,
There's
we
no
need to come
morality.
up with, like, PPE, right? The pyramid, well, maybe something else. But the
I was like,
pyramid
it can't
power.
be PPE. There's already
Yeah,
personal
yeah,
protective
yeah, yeah.
equipment.
And you can't go PEE. That
Crap.
doesn't work.
No. PEE. I like it.
It's
Pyramid
urine power.
energy, yeah.
Pee pee
We
poo
fill a
poo.
pyramid full of urine.
It's liquid gold, baby.
That's what the
Sell
gold on
yours
top
now.
is. It's just tinkling out.
Yeah. But wouldn't that be interesting if you built a scale mountain and the son of a bitch worked?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
You'd have
and
to
all of a
duplicate
sudden now
it.
it's
yeah.
like you're driving by and you're like, oh, Pyramid Power Station.
And then a
You
man
know,
with
yeah.
absolutely no hair in a 1950s
Yes.
black suit shows up, and they're like, show me how your engine works.
Yeah, right. And they blink horizontally.
Yep.
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah.
But I think it's it's one of my more favorite conspiracy theories. I think it's probably more accurate than not, honestly.
I honestly feel that the pyramids and the Sphinx itself, I mean, the physical geological evidence is there.
Yeah.
These things are older than
And
what
maybe the
people
Sphinx was just like the
believe
logo
it.
for the
Yeah,
power
it's the
station.
hood ornament.
Yeah.
Yeah, could have been.
Yeah.
We're gonna head on over and get some of that Sphinx power. Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
Instead of the little green dinosaur.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Sphinx.
It's the Sphinx.
Yeah. They're just like all over the place,
Oh,
little ones in front of the...
Fun little story. There's a new Sinclair gas station over in Buffalo, and they have a Sasquatch leading it away.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
leading the little
love
dinosaur
that.
away.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I will now have to make a pilgrimage to see it.
it's very cute.
I think honestly, in our lifetime, we'll never know the truth.
Right.
And that's
Absolutely.
just
Yeah.
the bitter pill to swallow.
Unless we already know it and we don't believe it.
Right.
Yeah.
We will have to wait until all the oil dries up on this planet.
And it will.
Yeah, but a lot later than what people believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a lot later than what they want you to believe.
The poles themselves have a lot of oil that we haven't been able to get to, but due to the greenhouse effect, the poles are
Global
melting.
warming.
So, I
See,
hate
but
to say
I-
it, but there's a lot of oil companies who are like, that's fantastic news. I can't build a goddamn platform on ice.
Right.
Ice moves, but I can build a floating platform and I can get to all that oil. There's a lot more of it than what people believe. Side effects will come with that. Greenhouse gases are going to drive those close to the equator, north and south. And there's not a whole lot of places down south. So we're going to see tons and tons and tons of people relocating in years to come, whether that be to like Southern Africa or South America, the deep South America, or North America and Europe. We'll have to see. Mm-hmm. But they will drill the poles if they can get to them. They'll go up and past into the circle, and if they're not already.
Yeah.
If they're not already. So we'll never really know if this is feasible. And if somebody can build a small scale model
Yes.
and
I'd
fire
love to
that
see
bad
that.
boy
I'd
up.
man.
love to see that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
in a controlled lab led by scientists who were able to actually get the materials, scale it down, put the flow through, and then just start experimenting to
But
see
be careful
what happens.
because
So-
you might end up dead.
Right.
You may.
Right.
It'd be worth it, though.
It would be worth it. But quartz radios, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's that similarity of how those work. Quartz, anything, watches, whatever.
Yeah.
That vibration that powers it, essentially, right?
Yeah, it runs without battery power. I mean, a quartz crystal radio receiver doesn't need power to operate. Traditional power, anyway. Yeah, I think the thing is, like, if the science is sound behind it, it doesn't matter how many people suddenly die. That knowledge is out there, and enough people could get it and demonstrate it to work that you couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's trying to get it out there.
Yeah.
Then you've got to fight against the individuals who were trying to stop it from getting out there.
Yeah.
Those individuals who were invested in those other companies have a responsibility to shareholders before they have a responsibility to the morality
Yes.
and the
Absolutely.
furtherment of mankind.
Yep. Yep.
You watch these shows, though, it's always interesting, like the time travel guys, and they went to 2347, then they went to 4253, whatever. All of them are always like it's free energy.
Yeah.
Like everything's just free. We learned how to do that. Well, did we learn it or do we have it and we just need to rediscover it?
That's the dream, though, isn't it? I mean, in a utopia, I don't have to pay for that.
Right.
You don't have to pay for that. You can use it to grow food, so food consequently
Yeah.
is free. Like all this stuff's free. Well, when you do lots of free things, there's a lot of people that don't like free things because they're not making money on the free things. But how much better would everything be if you were like, you didn't have to worry about running your air conditioning. You didn't have to worry about filling your car because you just hop in, hit the button, and you go. There's no charging stations. It harnesses from the gold capstones
Think
and
about
obelisks.
all the people who are out of work because
But
of
at the
that.
same time, if a lot of that
Would you need
stuff's
to?
free,
Yeah.
you don't need to work.
Yeah, the whole idea that you have to work would go away.
Yes. Less capitalistic society.
I don't know, man. I don't think it'll ever work out that way.
No.
It would be great. It's like a popular TV show, Star Trek. Their entire society revolves around the idea of furthering the knowledge and technology of mankind through the exploration of space and the communications with alien life forms, right? Every human being either lives on a planet in a different kind of style,
Right.
or if you're part of the Federation, that's what you do. Okay, you're a scientist, you're a doctor, you are furthering mankind. It is a utopia that will never be achieved.
Right.
Well,
it,
and again,
doesn't.
not in our lifetime.
It doesn't
Well, no,
match
I mean,
human
like,
nature.
never.
Yeah,
I don't
humans.
know.
Humans.
It
I don't
doesn't
think
match human nature.
Yeah, we're not capable of achieving that. I don't
No.
think.
Not without intervention of some sort. from
Yes. It would-
aliens.
yeah, we have to be. We have to be schooled. We'd have to be really taken to school and told how it's going to be.
Like on a God scale.
Yeah. Exactly.
On a God scale.
Yep.
And even then, like we've talked about in the past, man, gods could land tomorrow, walk around and be like, I made all of you. And we'd be like, go get my gun.
Right.
Right.
I don't
Shoot
believe him.
Shoot the
Yeah,
ghost.
shoot the ghost. Yeah, exactly.
Shoot the ghost.
Shoot the ghost.
All
Because
right.
that always pans out well.
So since this is Aaron's big subject, baby, I'll give you the last word, brother.
I'm going to go home and build a pyramid this weekend.
You should.
I honestly, Reagan said, trust but verify, right? Do I trust that they were just burial chambers? I mean, it's a good theory, but it's as good as any of the other theories. I would like to verify. I would like to see this put into practice to see if it actually could work. If you compress this enough with the way that the chambers are, but we don't know what all the chambers are is part of the problem. So if somebody could at least take it and theorize, okay, well, we would have to do this, we would have to do that, and see if it works. Because I'm pretty damn confident it would. Just simply because this is the best theory that I've read in a long time about the pyramid. So do I think it was an actual ancient power station? Yeah, about as much as I think it was a burial chamber. As much as I think it was a grain site. Actually, I don't believe that one at all.
That was a little much.
But I think it's definitely the stuff that conspiracy theories are made of.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing, hypothesizing, like if that truly were it and somehow it could have been conveyed along ley lines, there's an ancient knowledge here. I guess that's my favorite part of this. There's an ancient knowledge here that didn't just come about. These people were either incredibly intelligent to the point that we today cannot recreate the pyramids as perfectly as they were made then. There's a knowledge there that I would love to know where that came from. Mm-hmm. And it's the chariots of the gods things, maybe. It's the hieroglyphs inside of the pyramids that look like helicopters and the land speed racer from Star Wars and all these different things that there's paintings of, the great fires, the gods coming from the sky. They needed a way to power their stuff. That's my thought on it.
Everyone thank Grant.
Oh, yeah, Grant.
Thanks,
Thanks, Grant.
Oh, and you got to this far in. If you like this kind of stuff, if you want to see more weird, wacky, like, subscribe, ding the notification bell, all the stuff
All the
that you're
good
supposed
stuff,
to do.
Yeah.
Because it always, that helps out a ton.
Absolutely. You've been listening to Jackalopes Explore.
Who made the sunrise high? spaces, messages and traces, echoes of the past, mysteries that last. Who made the sunrise high in the moonlight sky? Secrets in the stones, whispering unknowns. Dreams of outer spaces, messages and traces, echoes of the past, mysteries that last.